Hi, this is Chris, also known as That 70s Bloke, from That 70s Game, doing another Marvel Crisis Protocol video. Doing something different from last time. This time I'm doing a tier list, because tier lists are cool. And this time I'm going to look at affiliations. Okay, I think that was an easy one to start with. So, kind of things I'm going to be considering when I'm putting this tier list together is how good the leadership ability is, how good the tactics cards are, how good the models are that are affiliated, how easy it might be to stick in other non-affiliated models, okay, whether the affiliation actually feels complete, okay, but then also other things, so like whether it meets my personal play style, whether I've had success with it, or whether I've been trounced by it. So there might be some here that people will totally disagree purely because, well, that's my experience of it. So let's go. I'm going to start with the original ones. Okay, we'll start with the Avengers here. So the Avengers, obviously they're going to have two leadership abilities pretty soon, but as of now they've only got one, Cap's ability. That's pretty good. Okay, getting reductions on your superpowers, brilliant, especially if you've got people with reactive superpowers. Avengers got the biggest roster, okay, with loads of people in there, and actually you can build a relatively cheap roster. So with Cap and Black Widow and a 3-point model, you've only spent 9 points. That leaves you with another 8 points to get 2 out of affiliation models, and probably both benefit massively. So I think in general, Avengers, straight up here, A tier. I'm going to stay going alphabetically. Next up is Asgard. Okay, so Asgard, again, good leadership ability, not as good as Cap's, so that would bring it down a bit, but some really good models. Okay, Thor, excellent beater. Angela, great extract runner. Enchantress, one of only, at the moment, 2 models in the game that can steal other people's extracts. 3 if you count Quicksilver. Hela, she's okay. Loki, I don't have much success with him, but I know he can be good. And Valkyrie, super solid 3-threat model. The biggest problem I find with Asgard is that they're so expensive. So we got Thor, Angela, 5 threat. Loki's 5 if you take a stone. Enchantress and Hela 4, Valkyrie's 3. So realistically, the cheapest you can put out an affiliated team of 3, 5 for Thor, a 3-threat Valkyrie, another 4. That's 12 points. It means you can't have a lot else in there. So I find that makes them a bit hard to play. Yes, they're tough. Yes, they've got a good affiliation, but I think you're struggling to put anyone else in there. And at the moment, it's quite a small affiliation. So I'm going to stick that in B tier. Go back to the one I skipped, A-Force. A-Force, okay, would be tempted to put right up here to start with. Okay, they have another affiliation which reduces power, okay, but its downside is you've got to have people getting damaged. But people are always going to be getting damaged, and every time someone gets hit, you can generate a lot of power, and you can choose where to put it, and you're generating a lot of power that way. They have, again, like Avengers, an incredibly big roster, okay, but they also have some of the best models in the game. Valkyrie's in A-Force, Shuri's in A-Force, Medusa's in A-Force, Angela's in A-Force. So these are some of the biggest, most popular characters in the game, all in A-Force, and Scarlet Witch, although she is in Avengers as well. Okay, all of that would make me put it straight up here. The one issue I see that A-Force have is She-Hulk. She's a 6-point model, and that makes me slightly wary. Now, there's other 6-point models which might make it right at the top here. Biggest problem I have with She-Hulk, though, is if she gets focused out, she can go down really quickly. And unlike other models which will daze, and then they can't be damaged anymore, She-Hulk can just be battered off. A whole team, same problem that Hulk used to have, a whole team just gang up on her. She can go down. So I think for the moment I'm going to have to put A-Force here in A tier. Moving on. Black Order. Okay, so straight away the biggest problem Black Order have is they only have 5 models. Secondly, they are insanely expensive. Okay, when you take Thanos and a couple of gems, okay, you're looking at 8 points, and then you throw on Corvus, now you're on 12, but then you have to give Corvus a gem, so now you're on another point, and then you take Proxima, and you end up being on basically your 16, 17, 18 points with 3 models. Your other options are Ebony Moore, who has all kinds of issues. Black Dwarf, okay, but not that great. You might end up throwing in a 2-point model. I used to like taking Rocket. Their affiliation ability is actually pretty good, gaining points for damage, gaining victory points when you're sort of killing people. That's great. The fact that you've always got Thanos and he's bumping people's attacks, that's really good. And in theory, they should be really good, right up here. But when I played a couple of games with Black Order, I really, really struggled. I had very few models, so I could be swarmed. My models could get pushed off points really easily, so I couldn't sort of victory points. Yes, in theory, I could do a lot of damage, but if the other people could separate off Thanos from the rest of his team, then they didn't work properly. So I had to be, it's very difficult to make sure you've got the extracts and the secures. So as much as loads of people rate Black Order, sorry for me, they're down here. I think they're really, really hard to get to work. If you know what you're doing, they're probably up here. I didn't, so they're going down here. Brotherhood. Where do I want to start with Brotherhood? Well, straight away, they've got 2 leaders. That's a good thing. That's moving them up. And their leaders are pretty good. They've got Magneto and Mystique. I've played a bunch of games with Black Brotherhood. I've still yet to use Mystique's leadership ability. I don't think I quite get how it really works. But Magneto's leadership ability is excellent. Being able to throw an item at the beginning, particularly if you've got a model with Valkyrie, Valkyrie can throw a size 2 piece of terrain at another size 2 piece of terrain, generates 4 power straight away. First activation, your whole team has an extra bit of power. And then that sets up things where Quicksilver can go and grab a point from someone else really early on, which is great. Then if we actually look at Magneto himself, he's pretty good. He does a nice bunch of damage and he can tank. So the issue I had with She-Hulk, he doesn't have. He's a bit slow, but then he has things like Asteroid M, which can get around that. In terms of the models he can take, if you take Scarlet Witch at the moment, she's looking at being one of the best models in the game. And then you've got Quicksilver, who's in my top 2 extract runners. But then you've also got Toes, another good extract runner. Mystique's really, really good. Okay. So I'm tempted to put Brotherhood up here. The only thing that I'm thinking, I let his Brotherhood down, is there's quite a small list of who you can take. And again, they're expensive. Even if you take Magneto, Toad, and Mystique, you've spent 11 points. That was one of the things I criticised Asgard for. Difference is their leadership ability is really excellent. So I'm going to put them up here, although partly that's because if I don't put Brotherhood on S tier, I haven't got an S tier affiliation. All right, next up, Cabal. Again, kind of like the last one, they've got 2 leaders. That's pretty cool. I haven't really had a go at Sin yet, and I'm not 100% sure how her ability would work in play. It seems quite good. Okay, I feel like if everybody next round has to move back onto points and everyone's dropped their extract, that's really cool. At the same time, you could have a bad roll and nothing happens. That kind of suck. Red Skull's ability, always good. If you're beating up other people and getting extra power, it means you get to your really good attacks really quickly. And there's certain characters who maybe struggle to generate power, who generate loads more power under Cabal. It's one of those things you always hear on other podcasts. People saying, oh, well, this model will be good in Cabal. Basically, everyone who wants to do any attacking at all is good in Cabal. They've also got a great list of characters. Okay, the fact that they can take other leaders, pretty cool. And they've got MODOK, one of the best models in the game. I think one of my biggest issues with Cabal is they didn't used to have a 2-point model. Okay, but now they have. They've got Bob, which means you can field for 8 points with Sin, an affiliated thing. Then you can put whoever else you want in. Or realistically, if you want to take, say, Sin and MODOK and Bob, that's only 10 points. You've still got 7, 8 more points to put in 2 other models from any affiliation. So I think looking at where they are now, okay, I'm going to put them up here. Why am I putting them up here high? Well, although Red Skull and Sin have quite good leadership abilities and the faction's good, I don't think either of those leaders themselves are that amazing. Criminal Syndicate. Okay, I hadn't played these until really, really recently. Kind of when they came out, that was kind of when the whole thing was going off with COVID, and we had another lockdown up here, and the game kind of stopped for me. I've played against them recently, and I have to say I was pretty impressed, mainly because the leadership ability is really good. As well as that, Kingpin's really good. So I'd be putting them right up here somewhere. I think the issue I have with Criminal Syndicate is that they could do with a 2-point model. For me, I really wish Bullseye or Black Cat, if she ends up in Affiliation, I wish they were. I really, really wish that they were 2 points. At the moment, you've got a similar problem with some of the others. The cheapest I can do an Affiliation for is 10 points, and I feel like I'm taking models I don't necessarily want to get to that 10 points. Okay, if I've got Kingpin, Crossbones, and Taskmaster, for example, they're doing what the Affiliation wants with a leadership ability. I don't really think I want all those 3. If I take one of those out and put in MODOK instead, I'm now on 12 points. I've spent 12 points already. I maybe only can fit one more model in. So I think my issue at the moment with where Criminal Syndicate are is that they've got a really good leadership ability, but actually some of their leadership, so I think the thing I've got with Criminal Syndicate at the moment is that, yes, the leadership ability is good. Some of their characters are pretty good, but I think they could do with either a couple more cheaper, really good affiliated characters. You know, something like a Valkyrie. Yes, they've got MODOK, okay, but they're kind of a bit samey. Everything's a bit slow, and you need that extra speed. So maybe when we see where some of these spider foes end up, we'll go down. So I think for the moment, although I really like how that Criminal Syndicate ability works, I'm going to have to drop them into B. They're just not quite there for me yet. Next up, Defenders. So when Defenders came out, I was super excited. I really liked the idea of being able to buff the defense of the rest of my team. I thought that was really cool. And I was really excited by the portals. I thought that was great. Having Wong, that was pretty cool. So I was kind of really into Defenders. The problem I then found is that I kept using the same models. Kind of every lineup I did had to have Doctor Strange, who had to have a Soul Token. I put Wong in there, I was on 8 points. And then I was taking like Valkyrie and Hawkeye because they're really good 3-threat, cheap models. And I could maybe stick someone else in there. But pretty much every lineup I did have those guys. And if I wanted to take someone more expensive, like a Ghost Rider or a Hulk, I couldn't fit them in. If I wanted to take an out of affiliation model, a good one, I couldn't fit them in. Okay, so that was kind of dropping me down. Maybe dropping them down to here. Okay, they weren't quite working. And actually, their leadership ability can be useful, but it's quite expensive. So it wasn't great. Luckily, though, should be by the end of this week, we get Iron Fist and Luke Cage. And Luke Cage, I think, is going to be great in this. To actually have a model that can sit near Doctor Strange. If you hit Doctor Strange, no, you don't. You hit Luke Cage. And if you've got Ghost Rider in as well, now you've got the crazy situation where you attack Ghost Rider. No, you hit Luke Cage. But because you didn't hit Ghost Rider, you take damage. Excellent. If you try and hit Doctor Strange, no, you don't. You hit Luke Cage. And because you hit Luke Cage, yeah, you take damage. And I think that's going to be a really good little combination between a couple of these Defender models. On top of that, they can take Valkyrie, who's a great model, and now they can take Scarlet Witch, and she's even better. So, Defenders, up here for me, doing really good. Guardians. Okay, obviously in the films, I love Guardians. Who doesn't love the Guardians of the Galaxy? Great fun. A lot of their models seem pretty cool. Rocket's pretty cool. He's only 2 points. Nebula's only 2 points. The fact that you can field an affiliated thing at 7 points is amazing. Okay, you can do 7 points, and then you can take, I'm going to take MODOK and Scarlet Witch. Okay, you're going to have the shootiest team. If you've got Star-Lord, Rocket, either Cabal or MODOK and Scarlet Witch, two of those 3, you've got one of the shootiest lists in the whole game, and you can do it for 17 points. That's great. Okay, got to be up here. Downside is Star-Lord, he's not that good, and you've got to take him. And the leadership ability is just, in my opinion, complete garbage. So as much as I'd love to put them up here, I think I'm going to have to dropping them down here. And I'd almost be tempted to go on to D tier. The only thing that's keeping them off D tier for me is the fact that actually, if you can run a really, really wide list, you can swarm another team and you can put in some really cool models into your Guardians tier. But I really wish all the models were a bit better. Gamora's not as good as she should be. Drax isn't that great. And just all of them, Groot's not very good. They're just not as good as I'd like them to be. But being able to have an affiliated team for 7 points, that's pretty cool. It's just a shame they haven't actually got a really good leadership ability. Oh, and they lost drop-off. Next up, Inhumans. Leadership ability-wise, I think that Inhumans have one of the best leaderships in the game. The ability to actually sort of turn one, being able to advanced R&D a power onto a character, and then to throw another power onto a character from Inhumans, and straight away every character's got 3 power, at which point you can do pretty much whatever attack or superpower you want on your first activation. Lets you do some really cool things. That's amazing. Fortunately, after you kind of got through the turn 1 stuff, later on in the game everyone's got power. You don't really need to be moving it around a lot. So it's nice to maybe get that extra VP lead after that's not doing a lot. And then Black Bolt, he's really, really weak for me. I've played with him, I've played against him. He really needs to be on the second side of his card, and once he's on the second side of the card, he runs the risk of then dying altogether. He's not really that good. Although they've got things like Medusa's really good, Quicksilver's a good extract, Lockjaw's pretty cool. They haven't really got the best bunch of models in the thing. So again, for me, they've got a massive benefit here, but they just kind of drop off for me. I just don't really rate the Inhumans at the moment, and I don't really see in some other models that are going to come out and make them better. It's the same Crystal, isn't a bit better. I don't really rate her, which is a shame. All right, next up, Spider Foes. So Spider Foes, I think in a month's time, may well be right up here somewhere. Okay, they're going to have a bunch of really cool models. Some of them are going to be really cheap. It's going to be really interesting. However, we're not in a month's time. Okay, we're kind of now. Green Goblin at the moment really isn't great. He suffers from having a builder which doesn't generate any power because he's struggling to actually do some damage off that, which means he can't do any of the other cool stuff he wants to be doing. When he's flipped, yeah, then he's great. But again, it's kind of that Black Bolt thing. You don't want to have a leader that you've got to have close to death to be able to get the most out of. The leadership ability, it's not bad. Okay, it's nice being able to make someone else's defense worse, but again, it's costing you power, and you're not generating a lot of power from, say, Green Goblin. Some of the other models are, but at the moment, the only other affiliate models we have are Doc Ock, Kingpin, and Venom, which isn't really much of a thing. We're struggling here. We've got a real speed problem. When we had drop-off, that was okay, but we don't have drop-off. So we've got a bunch of big base models, some of which are moving small. We're not able to get to people. We're not generating energy. We've got a poor leadership ability. We don't have any tactics cards that are actually letting us do anything. So for the moment, Spider Foes have got a B and D tier. And I think it's simply enough that they're not a complete affiliation. We know that within a month, we're going to have at least another 4, possibly 5 more Spider Foes models. And I think suddenly we'll see them leaping up this. All right, X-Men. Where do we think X-Men go on here? To be honest, I haven't played a lot with X-Men. I've kind of read the cards. I've looked at it. Everyone slates Cyclops' ability. I think it's pretty cool. I think if you can stick if you're playing on a Gamma Wave or something, and you can stick a bunch of characters right in that centre thing and fuel power right into Cyclops early on, so he can just keep doing his optic devastations, I think that's not bad. Outside of that, though, it seems pretty niche. Storm's ability, giving people cover and moving people, that's always going to be good. Again, I think at the moment they're suffering from what some other affiliations have got as a problem, which is they don't really have that many models. At the moment, we only have 4 released models that can play in it, and then we've got Cable and Domino coming out. Personally, that still bugs me. I don't really remember Cable and Domino ever really being in the X-Men, when compared to, say, people like Sabretooth and Magneto have been. Anyway, that's not really relevant. At the moment, they're not really there. I think, yes, they're going to have these extra models out in a bit, but I'm not sure Cable super wants to be playing in X-Men. Maybe he does. He's going to be a bit useful. It does mean you can really easily run a sort of X-Force, X-Men dual affiliation. That's pretty cool. But I think in general at the moment, X-Men are a bit below par. They've got some okay things going on there, and I think they've got some reasonable models, and they're not as bad as Spider Foes, but they definitely need more models. Of course, maybe in a year's time, when we've got all of the X-Men that we all want, maybe we'll be up here with Avengers. All right, next up, Wakanda. Okay, Wakanda's got a pretty cool leadership ability. Everyone likes, having more rerolls. Generally, you can feed a pretty cheap team as well, because you can chuck out Black Panther, Shuri, and Okoye, which is kind of the models you want. Only 9 points. That's good. Being able to do Wakanda Forever and everyone getting a free attack in one round, that's pretty good. And essentially all of the models, maybe Storm's not as good as the main models you can take. Shuri's one of the best models in the game. Okoye's one of the best models in the game. I think Black Panther's also really good. Whenever I play with Black Panther, he's tanked a lot of damage and he's done a lot of damage. I've never regretted taking him in a game. So I'd be tempted to put them up here. Again, the only problem is they actually only have 5 members. So there's not a huge amount there. It's pretty cool that you can very, very easily go, I'm going to do a Wakanda A-Force dual affiliation. And that's nice. They can easily bring other models in, which can do a lot more. But I think they need bulking out a bit. Fortunately, there aren't a whole lot of other Wakanda models I can see turning up at any point. But they're good. Web Warriors. Still not sure why Daredevil's included in the Web Warriors. Answers on a postcard, please. So I think at the moment, Web Warriors are looking pretty good. Certainly we know in a month, again, we're going to get Amazing Spider-Man, probably get Black Cat. I think that'll do a lot of good for them. I think at the moment, there's somewhere around here. They've got good models. Okay, Ghost Spider is a great model. She's got abilities, lifesaver. No one else has got that. Miles can steal extracts off other people. You can put out a pretty cheap affiliation, relatively. Extra re-rolls and more when you're on points, being able to re-roll skulls, that's good. Personally, I really, really like Venom. So when you can kind of have a core of Miles and Ghost Spider and Venom, and then you can put other stuff in, I think that's good. I think they have a pretty clear game plan of how they want to play. And for me, they work. They do what they need to do, but they're not flashy. I think when they get Amazing Spider-Man, I think maybe they're going to be moving up here. Lastly, X-Force. Well, firstly, this is one that technically isn't out yet at this point. Okay, Cable doesn't come out until hopefully the end of this week. But I think there's some cool things it looks like you do in X-Force. The ability, it's not amazing, okay, but at least you're not paying power. The fact that you can just re-roll an extra attack dice, whereas say in Wakanda or in Spider-Foes you're paying power for that, just having that re-roll, that's good. Cable himself, he seems okay. I haven't played with him yet. Deadpool looks okay. Wolverine's okay. Domino's okay. Yeah, you can kind of see where we're going here. Everything X-Force, it's okay, but nothing special. And there we go. So this looks a bit odd because I've got a bunch of things in A tier and a bunch of things in C tier. But I think that's where we've got at the moment. There's a lot of good tiers. Okay, I think everything in this top half here is a decent affiliation I think you're going to go well with. And these bottom ones doesn't mean they're bad. I've seen people do really, really good things with Black Order and with Inhumans and so on. I think the difference is when you're at the bottom here, well, maybe not Spider-Foes, everything in the C tier I think can be good if you know what you're doing. If you've had a lot of practice and you've found some good combos, I think you can probably do that. It's one of the things I love about Marvel Crisis Protocol is it doesn't really matter who you take. As long as you know what you're doing, you can have a good game and do impressive things. I was playing Brotherhood the other day. There we go, it's my S tier, best in there. I was playing against a Web Warriors thing, okay, and I got basically trounced because the Web Warriors player knew what they were doing and had a really good plan and played to it, and I was only kind of just finding my feet with Brotherhood and I made some mistakes. So really, this is just kind of a bit of fun. But yeah, that's where I go for the moment. So I'm hoping to do more of these in the future. Of course, if no one ever watches them, then I guess I won't. But yeah, hope you'll come back and watch more of my videos, and bye for now.